Well, hello everybody. I'm really sorry about the delay. It's technical problems, first time user on this system, but hey, we're here now. Sorry, I'm in my shed in the garden and it gets cold, and I had the heater on, so I've just turned the heater off. Well, thank you for all being so patient. Today we're going to be making some felt flowers. So what I'm going to do, these are the felt flowers, and I'm going to show you how to create them. And we're going to be using something like this, which is unspun wool, and all felt makers use this. This is beautiful merino wool. Really nice and fine, and the sheep's been growing it all year round just for me to give you a demonstration. Now what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to angle my screen so that you can actually see my worktop. You can see where I'm going to work, and I'm hoping that everyone will be able to see what I'm doing. So it's going to be that should be okay. You won't see me, but you'll see my towel, and also I'm using a piece of bubble wrap. Now the bubble wrap is really easy to get hold of. You know, it comes in parcels and various other things. So I'm just going to prop this up. It's probably going to be better on a higher level. I hope that's okay for you. That's better. Sorry. This is a bit of make do and mend here. And I'm going to be using 2 pieces of bubble wrap. So I don't cut them very big. The size is just enough to contain the wool that I'm going to use. And I'm first of all going to give you a little demonstration on how to make felt. So I'm pulling out the fibres gently with my hands and I lay the felt down in one direction, lay the fibres down in one direction. Make a nice little pile. And you don't want a thick pile, you just want it really fine. And the bubble wrap has got the smooth side on the towel and the bubbly side upwards. And then my second layer is going to be laid in that direction. In fact, I'm going to use another colour so that you can see the difference. So I'm using a pink, and this is going to be laid in the opposite direction, again nice and finely, and you have to overlap the fibres so that it's going to bond. Now the way that felt works is when I use my felting solution, which is just soap and water, the scales on the fibres, which there are a lot of, it's a bit like your hair, you know, when you've got split ends, it's the scales opening up. They're going to open up, and because I'm going to massage it, the scales will lock together and create an non-woven textile. And it's great because it's a really tough textile. You can cut it, but you can't tear it. So I'm just going to use another colour just so you can see the difference. My third layer, because 3 layers are always good, and I always like to use more layers finely than less layers thickly, because that way I know that the scales have a chance to move around and create a good bond with their with their partners. I just want to make sure the volume's turned up. Yeah, good. So you can all hear me. Really embarrassing about all the problems with the computer and the iPad. Still, I've got there in the end. So my 3 layers, move my wool out. My 3 layers are there. Now, normally I would actually, that needs a little bit more. If I can see the fibres from the other layer and through, I know that I'm not covering it enough. So just lay that down. If you've got problems in pulling out, because I know arthritis and one thing and another, there is something else you can do. You can lay the fibres down, and just using the side of your hand, you can lay it on the very tips of the wool and just pull it gently, and that pulls the fibres enough that you can use them to lay down. So now I've laid my wool down, I'm going to get my felting solution. Now all this is I put a lump of soap in the bottom of my jug, and I'm just adding a little bit of water on it. So my jug, my handy jug here, has just got a lump of soap. I use olive oil soap because it's kind to the hands. There's the olive oil soap. It's kind to the hands and kind to the wool. It doesn't make bubbles, too many bubbles, so it allows the fibres to lock together with their neighbours and get a good felting bond going on. Now I've laid my second piece of bubble wrap down on top, so it's now bubble to bubble with a smooth side on top, and I'm going to start making sure that all that water goes to the fibres. I don't want any dry bits, but on the other hand I don't want it too wet either, because if it's too wet, it's like too many bubbles, it will stop the fibres meeting and mingling. I always like that, meeting and mingling. And I'm just going to pull that back, and you can see that it's holding itself together, but of course it's not felt yet. But I'm just going to turn my edges underneath because I like to be a bit neat, and I can use these sample pieces for all sorts of things. You could actually make patchwork with them. You could do a felt patchwork. If there's any questions you want to ask me, can you wait until the end, and then I'm very happy to answer any questions. And if you have any burning issues or you want to purchase any wool, I have a Facebook page, a website, which is this, feltbetter.com. You can write to me through that. I also have a shop on this website, and there's also lots of information about felting and some videos of felting techniques, both wet and dry. So there are some felt flower instructions that were sent out. You should have them. I'm just massaging this with my hand, and I'm going to do this very quickly because we want to get on and to make the flowers. But already I can see that I can rub my hand over, and it's starting to hold itself together. I don't know where that red line comes from. We can remove that. And I use various tools. This is very easy to get hold of. This is a little sushi mat, and you can get them from supermarkets or online, Amazon, various other places. And I just use it to roll up my piece of felt. And what I do, which I'm not doing now because I'm talking to you, is I count. And I count the number of rolls, and I make sure that I do the same all the way around. So, let's say, we've done this side, and I normally do about 50. And then I open it up, and I'll turn it, one turn to the right, and roll it up again, and carry on. Have to pretend that I'm doing 50 because time is of the essence. And this is, there's lots of felting tutorials on YouTube, but there's also on my own website. So let's open this up, and then I do another turn to the right and roll it up again, making sure that I've rolled it the same number of times. And you don't have to put too much pressure on here. It's just a light roll. I always think of it as part of my exercise. It's good for the getting rid of bingo wings, or whatever you'd like to call them. It's I've got strong upper arms, which is it's probably the only bit about me which is strong. And then the last one is that way. Roll it up. Now the thing about felt, when you make it, you have to allow a 30% shrinkage, because it will shrink by that amount. It's a bit like, if you think of putting your best jumper in the washing machine on a hot wash, and you know what happens, it comes out ready to fit a teddy bear. And so the same will be the case with this, because it's wet, you're causing agitation on the fibers, and they just lock together. Now this is, you can see it's strong. I can stretch it. Actually, to make a good piece of felt, you need to stretch it in all directions, but it's not quite finished yet. But I think for our purposes we'll consider that finished, and then I can go on to show you about the felt flowers. So I think we'll say that for now, that's my first piece of felt to show you. So I'm going to put that on one side. You always have to rinse it out with clean water, because the soap can eventually rot the wool. So I always wash it in just rinse it in clean water and squeeze out the water and leave it somewhere airy to dry. Don't shove it in a cupboard or put it in a plastic bag, because it will smell, because it's organic, it's hair, and you really don't want to have something like that shoved in a bag when it's wet. Right, now we're going to make a little flower like this, and how I'm going to start is by I've got some various colours here. I think I'm going to use a solid colour for the inside, and the outside will be striped. So I'm going to work from the outside in. So this is some lovely fibres that I've got that have been carded together, and there's even a bit of silk in there. And they're lovely because they've got all those different colours that when you pull you can see all the colours. So I'm going to start laying this down. And I'm going to do it in a sort of clockwise direction. Actually, I think that's going to be the coloured on the inside and the solid on the outside, because I should have done it the other way, but that's fine. So lay this down, and again we're going to take it round like a clock, a bit like clock patience really. And as we go, you don't want to lay it thickly, you just want a nice fine layer. So this layer is done. A bit of silk there. Now silk won't felt, but it will felt in if you lay it and incorporate it with wool, and it does glint beautifully. So that's my one layer there. Then I'm going to take my fibres. Actually, I'm going to cross them like that so that there is some intermingling of the fibres. Bit more there, and then the last is going to be another colour. Let's use this one. And always start with nice fluffy ends. And I'm going to again lay my fibres in a clockwise direction all the way around. I hope you can all see this clearly. Just the last bits here. And once I've done that, what I need something in the middle, a little bit of green maybe, that is going to be the stem. So let's get a little bit of green, and I'm going to lay that down there because that's my middle bit, like that. And because I want to have a stem, I'm going to actually add this. No, I think we'll leave it like that. We'll leave it like that for now. Now, next stage is I'm going to add a little bit of water, not too much, because remember what I said before, and lay my bubble wrap back on. With a bit of soapy water on the back so that I can rub. Now I want to incorporate all that water in with this. Just to make sure that the wool takes up all the water. Now what I'm going to do, once I've rub that a bit and just push the water in, this is called wetting out. I'm going to pull this back and just check that everything has got enough water on it. That's fine. That's absolutely fine. Now with the bubble wrap, I'm going to gently massage. And what I want to do is work my edges. So all my edges will be rubbed. I'm leaving the center for the minute because that's going to actually create a stem if I can do it. So I just want to have the edges felted at the moment. Now the thing about felt is once you've started felting it, once the wool is beginning to bond with its neighbouring fibres, you can't add anything to it. You can't open it up again, which is why I'm trying to leave that centrepiece a little bit alone, because I want to turn it into a little stem if I can. So working my way around and just see how this is going. Yeah, it's fine. And I'm going to, with my fingers, I'm going to gently massage it. Now you can add little bits of silk if you have any, as maybe even behind. Old silk chiffon scarves are wonderful to use. I just need a little bit more soapy water on here. And as long as you've got the wool there, they should felt through. But for now, we're just going to do these lovely coloured fibres. I do love these colours. They're like fairyland, really. I live in a world of colour. I'm very happy in my shed with all my wool around me, all my bits and pieces. I've been making felt now for about 25 years, and I've been teaching all over the country and internationally. Really enjoy it, and I've done a lot in schools. I've worked with special needs and adults with learning difficulties, and it's been really a wonderful journey, I can say, a wonderful journey. Now this is beginning to felt really nicely. So what I want to do is I want to turn it over and I wanted to pinch the middle like that, and with my fingers I'm going to try and roll that piece there to turn it into a stem. And I can do this using the edge of my sushi mat. Leaving the other free at the moment. I just want to get this stem going first. Work it in my hands. And you can see it's beginning to make a nice little stubby stem. Now there's all sorts of things you can do. You can make little stamens first by rubbing wool like this and then just adding them in. Or you can embroider into your felt flowers once it's done. So I've got these are going to be my petals when it's finished, and what I'll do is I'm going to be cutting them. So now I've got my stem there. I'm going to start rolling my flower up in my little mat. Open it up, see how that's going. Yeah, it's coming on nicely. Change the direction. The lovely thing about making felt is that no two pieces are ever the same. Everything is different. Everything is original. Keep turning it round and rolling it. So I'm dying of the heat in here. I have this little heater that is very efficient, but the heat does build up and then it gets really, really cold. So each time I'm rolling. So now I'm going to roll this way. Open it up, see how it's going. It's really shrinking, I can see. So roll it up the other way. Keep rolling it. And when it starts to feel like it's happening, I get my scissors and I'm going to cut the petals. So I work my way around. There we are. And then what I'm going to do is just round off each petal. Open that one up a bit. Now, the more you work it, the tighter the felt will get. And what we want to do is try and create a really nice tight flower so that the petals will stand out like this one. So there's my flower with my stem, and I'm going to carry on rolling, but you can also roll each petal on its own, so you could actually roll it up like this, and that will strengthen the petals, and they start to be able to, can you see how they're beginning to form again? Or you can roll them up separately on their own and just roll them backwards and forwards. And each time they're going to get firmer and firmer. Just work your way around each of the petals, just rolling up, and you'll find that each time they'll get better and better, but we will still want to create that shape there. So I'm going to fold them in like that and roll them up in my mat again. These little sushi mats are great. You can make all sorts of things in them, as well as sushi. But I wouldn't suggest that you use the same one that you're going to be making sushi in, so which is raw fish. I think we'll keep a separate one for making felt. So you can see how much it's shrinking. And again, as I said, each one rolled it up bit by bit. So that you can create that nice shape. And the other thing is that wool has a memory. So when you've rinsed it, you can wrap some cotton around, I'll show you where, to increase the shape, and it will stay within that shape. So I'm just going to carry on rolling. And what I would do is just, once I've rinsed it, tie a bit of cotton around there, or put an elastic band and let it dry like that. And then when you open it up, you'll find that it forms that lovely shape. Now, I really like that raggy look of the petals, but if you don't, you can always cut them to make them a bit more even. So that is the basis of making felt flowers. So I would now rinse that, put an elastic band around the bottom. In fact, that petal is a bit bigger than the other, so I'm just going to cut that one down. And that one. So, start of a felt flower. Okay, so now I wanted to show you here. I've attached a stem on the back. So what I've done is I created the stem first and I left the end dry. So I made this with rolling it in my hands, and then left the stem dry. And then when I had my flower done, I laid it over and then felted the whole thing. So I'll show you how to do that, because that's quite a nice thing to do as well. So to start with, I need some green. Of course, just my luck, I've got some green. Right. So let's start with making the flower. I've got lots of different wool here. Let's do something a bit stronger. So with this one, I've done the same colours on both sides. So let's have a go. The worst thing about wool is if you've got wet hands, it clings. So you have to make sure that you've got a towel that you can dry your hands on in between. Having said that, I need to do that. So we're going to start the same way, laying the fibres out in a clockwise direction. And because we want to get a good felt, we're going to have to lay the middle layer going in the opposite direction. So that's my first layer, and then my second layer will be as we did before. I'm just going to lay it across, and I'm going to lay a very light one. And then we're going to go back to what we did before and lay the fibres out in that clock shape. Now when you pull the wool out, the way that you pull it, always the wool in your hand is always going to be a straighter line. So if you want, you can use that as your edge to make it more controlled. So the other one is always going to be much more wispy, but let's use that straighter line, I think. Like that. And like that. And like that. Right. Now I've done that, I'm now going to make a stem. Making a stem is really simple. So I'm just going to get some wool, just pull it off like that. But I'm going to keep one end dry. So actually let's make that a little bit thicker. The wool that I use is called tops. Maybe I'll use that. And it comes out like a long extrusion like this. And that is the best way to buy wool. So I've been working with wool for a long time. So I'm just going to get a little bit of water on here, just a touch, and in my hands I'm just going to roll it. But I'm going to keep one end dry. Anyway, all the years that I've been working with wool, I've found good people to buy my raw material from. So if anybody wants to know, they can always email me. I do sell wool from my website, but also if you wanted to buy in quantity, if you email me through my website, I'll be able to give you a list of suppliers. So in my hand you can see that actually excuse me, cutting that off at the bottom, it's becoming a stem. But I have kept that end there, that end dry. Once I'm happy with that and I feel that it's worked well, I'm going to take my dry end like that and I'm going to spread the fibres out. And I also am going to add a little more. So I'm just going to lay some cross fibres there and there, and that is going to be sitting on top like that. Now, because I felted this already, I know it's going to be okay, but I don't want it to felt in with the rest. So what I do is I take a little bit of plastic. I'm just trying to find my plastic. You know, you never have things when you want them. Ah, got it. No, it's not that. Never mind, we can use a bit of bubble wrap. And I just cut a little slip of bubble wrap like that and just wrap it, so I don't need very much. Just wrap it round my stem. Just so that That's not going to felt in with the rest. And I'm going to lay this on the top, and then I'm going to add my water all the way round. Keeping that wrapped up, and get my second piece of bubble wrap and do that. Always, if you don't want something to felt onto something else, you always put a little bit of plastic between them, just to inhibit the felting. And we're going to work exactly the same way as we did before. Just work this all the way around. And obviously I need to move this back so that I can get to that part. And we're going to work it exactly as we did before. So everything is the same except we have a stem. And I'm going to be working this and rubbing this and cutting it the same way as we did. And you'll see that the stem has felted in and is formed part of the flower. Now, if you don't have a mat, a sushi mat to work with, you can always just roll it up in your bubble wrap, which is often what I do, and just roll it, and then you can roll it in the towel because it makes it easier to roll. So I'm just rolling it up in my towel and I'm just going to work it, and it shrinks in the direction that you're rolling it. So it's an easier way, it controls it much better. Is that good English? I don't know. It controls it much better. Controls it more. I'm sorry. So let's open up. And it's coming on nicely. And now I will probably revert, because I want to get this done, revert to my mat and start rolling it. And taking the stem and rolling it. And your hands are the best tool for moulding these flowers. So I'll show you when I open up. So here on the joint, you want to make sure that that's a firm joint. So you're going to roll it and roll it and roll it. The only thing which firms up the felt is by rolling, by working it. So now I'm going to cut this down a bit, making it a smaller circle, because I feel that it's got a little bit out of hand. And then I'm going to cut the petals out. As I did before, and again I'm just going to round, if you like, round the petals off. They make lovely brooches. You can sew a little pin on the back, or put one of those pin backs on, and they really do make lovely brooches. So I'm going to roll this more to ensure that you get a good shaped flower. And again, when I'm finished, I'm going to rinse it and tie a little bit of cotton around that stem, around the, not so much the stem, I've forgotten what it's called, where the stem joins the flower, and just to make sure that it stays in that nice position, and then just rolling the petals to get a good effect. So I would then, I cut it a bit lopsided, but I think that's quite nice. Just work that stem and work the petals. And then finally you're going to rinse it in clean water and pop a little bit of cotton around there and leave it to dry in the air, and you can have a lovely little felt flower that you can put in on your jacket. I hope that you've all enjoyed that. I think that's probably all I have time to tell you today. And again, if anyone has questions, my website, feltbetter.com, and I hope you've enjoyed it. Maybe I'll see you on another day, making sure that my computer works. I do apologise, but I think you've probably saw really everything I was going to show you. So from me, have a good week and enjoy your felting. Thank you. Bye.